The area that I'm trying to bring transformation to, that I will be bringing transformation to, mind you, is working with evangelical spaces, helping them get clear about their policies in regards to queer inclusion, and then to make those policies, again, clear, public, and easily accessible. How neoliberalism and the episode from Black Mirror ties into this situation, for me, is quite simple. It's in the Black Mirror, they're all biking, they're producing some sort of energy. We don't know what for, but clearly everyone has to bike. And the more you bike, the more you get. In churches, not just evangelicals, but in churches, there is a way of biking. And the biking is going to keep the lights on. The biking is going to keep adding for people to show up and continue to give. And in church, it's, just first of all, there's many levels of biking in church. First, it is show up. If you want the best of God, imagine where you're going to find it. Not at your house and not at the other church, our church. And then once you're there, then you're going to be invited to give. And they're going to read outdated Leviticus passages, dare you to outgive God and say, you won't for open the gates, right? And so then you feel like, oh, well, I want to get more, therefore, I have to give more. And then it goes to, well, maybe we really need some help in the nursery. So now you're attending a service and serving in a service. And then it's like, oh, your kids would really thrive in this system. And man, your teenagers would love this missions trip. And then it's, hey, get in a small group. We do life together. And that's real community. And so then you're doing a small group. And then they're like, hey, you know what? We have this special ministry coming up where Operation Christmas Child, and we're asking you to give money over and above your tithe. Or maybe it's our building fund, so our legacy fund. And all that biking you're doing is to keep the very system that you're a part of, to keep it going. And in the same way as Black Mirror, the more they biked, the more they had a numerical amount. In the same way, you might not be able to have access to that pastor to marry your kid. You might not be able to get that counseling. Your kid might not be able to make that program unless you are here and you are pedaling and you're biking and you have something to offer in exchange. Then, how it also ties in then is whoever's biking, whoever's making the decisions of how we bike and when to bike, that's going to be dominant culture. And whoever that dominant culture is gets to decide what is decent or indecent, what is sacred or depraved, of what is in or out, what is good or bad. And so but they invite everybody. Everybody gets to play. They invite everyone to bike. And so there are people who are from the non-dominant culture, which could be a single person. It could be a queer person. It could be a person of color. There's many different levels. But they see all the biking, they see all the life, they see the energy, and they're like, I want to be a part of this. And so they sign up and they get on the bike and they start pedaling. They're serving, they are giving, they are adding with their art or their leadership, and they're bringing their family and friends. And the only problem is that no one tells them. No one tells them, hey, you're going to be able to bike, but you're not going to be able to, that numerical value is significantly less for you. And no one's going to tell you why, because the institution wants to benefit off the bodies and the work and the creativity and the finances off of those people's bodies. And that keeps it going. And so they give these very vague ideas, use these very vague terms, use very forward-facing terminology to keep the non-dominant people to continue to keep biking. And so when someone, right, this is great, when someone then has been biking for a while and they're like, you know what, I have something to offer. The real me is going to be this beautiful gift to this community, right? And they present this in that competition show like American Idol. And so this girl, she sings, the friend hears her, and they're like, we should go sing. He's like, you should go sing. And so he gives a lot in order for her to go and be herself. And what does she do? She gets up and she sings, and the crowd loves it. And it seems the judge loves it. But what is it they really want? When the judge says, show us your tits, right? And at first people are kind of shocked, especially the woman. But then all of a sudden, the judge says something to the manner of like, actually, we think you could be a real special talent if you could show us your tits. And what does the whole mass of people do? They believe this is now the good thing. The singing, which they enjoyed, now they're like, that's fine. We agree. This must be the best thing for not just us, but the best thing for this woman. Because what does one of the judges say? He says something in the terms of, you're either going to fuck or you can go back to the bike. What is it you want? And it's funny with those in power, those in dominant power can convince a whole group of people of what they really wanted, or what they originally wanted was the singing, but then they're able to say, no, what you all really wanted, right? What you really, really wanted was to see her tits. What you really wanted was her to be her fullest self by, fucking all these people, right? For your benefit. And that woman has to make a decision. She said, I came here for this, but now you're telling me you don't need my body in this way. You need your body in a way that benefits you the most, even at my expense. So she has to decide, right? Which I've heard stories of queer people, especially, who have said they brought me in, they loved what I did, they find out that I don't meet all their boxes, and still they want to benefit off my body, off my work, off my art, by my way of how I show up on time to clean the toilets, or the way I can, run the soundboard, or whatever it might be. They're using those people's bodies to continue to benefit, knowing full well that they're never going to be able to attain to the level of where they get to be their fullest self. Lastly, at the end, the man gets on stage and he threatens to kill himself, and he exploits the system. He says the quiet stuff out loud. And what does the judges do? They are like, oh my gosh, we never thought about this. We actually need more people like you. And so what do? They exploit him. And this is similar to, I've seen my former denomination, the Vineyard, where they would bring in a person of color to speak on a panel with other white men to talk about anti-racist work. They will bring in a queer person to come and talk about justice and talk about what it looks like to include and to cross lines and to love, with the intent of never actually moving to a place of doing anything about it. Never intent of any kind of transformation or liberation. What they want to do is, hey, we hear that story, and that actually kind of benefits us if we can put you on a stage, if we can highlight your book, so it appears like we're doing something, but never with the intent of actually doing something. They just exploit these authors, these speakers, and these activists over and over to appear like there's going to be some sort of transformation, and it never delivers. Why? In Black Mirror, where does he end up? He ends up in a bigger cell. There's no implication that what he's looking outside is real. It could just be another screen, another projection, and he gets just a room that gets a little bit of juice and a little bit more room, but to continue to be exploited day after day